What it was yesterday, Patty, was
Since we're recording, let's hold.
hmm, you're always good with catching that. What it was yesterday, Patty, was
Since we're getting feedback from your other entry somehow. Remember that happened last night. Is there something you need to turn off?
it's done now, correct? We're good?
Okay,
Okay.
I hope so.
Yeah, I had to mute it. Okay, we are good here. National Black AI Literacy Day. Julie, you are here from South Carolina. Good morning. I said it looks like dark around you, but you said it's your room that's there. So welcome from South Carolina. You might be on mute, Julie. Are you?
I am
D-
not.
Mr. Danny Ross is here. Y'all, Danny is amazing.
He is.
You know, he led a workshop of his own, and I got over there, and it's very cool to watch what he's created, what he's a part of right now. Patty, good morning to you. Patty is
Morning.
of a few of us who are right here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So, National Black AI Literacy Day. Thank everyone for being here. I love this empowerment for all of us, and we put all in capital letters there. And we talked about the theme this session of going deep, going high, and growing stronger. And that's what these sessions are helping us to do by moving deeper. And let's see, it was Hassan that said to me 2 days ago, he said, instead of going, you could do growing deeper, growing wider, and growing stronger instead of going.
Mhm.
That made a lot of sense. And that's how we're better as people together. So this is going to be interesting this morning as we talk about the implications of wellness and mental health and how we're looking at AI. It is a big, big thing. We'll do some as a discussion, and we'll excited to hear from you here, Julie. And I think with that, we'll just kind of jump right into it. And maybe if you could introduce yourself. And again, you're a veteran around here. You were at our last one. So I'll have you introduce yourself. And I love your title, by the way, Social Worker Expat. So tell us about that and welcome this morning.
Thank you for having me again. Uh, my name is Julie Nixon, and I am the only AI certified social worker in the United States, possibly the world. I am actually a real person. So the pauses, the slow talking, the gummy smile
Give us some
are,
sign. Yeah, okay. All
are
right.
all the real actual me.
Okay.
Give some sign. All
Yeah.
right, let's turn this
Yeah,
little light off. I'm a real person.
okay.
So the real person, me, started streaming, teaching myself prompt engineering on my YouTube channel, which is Social Work Expat, back in July of 2023. Went to my first AI conferences and found out I'm just sitting in the conferences and I'm like, I'm the only social worker here. There is a desperate need for a connection, a bridge between what is going on in technology and what I call regular people. So I feel like my work in Social Work Expat is bridging the uh, technological speed run cash grab with
Wow.
regular people who, in South Carolina at least, we are one of the states that there are many, many people who don't even have access to the internet. So we are talking about AI and digital twinning and the metaverse and on the ground, real life, there are people who don't even have dial-up. This is an entire world that somewhat we need to provide information and literacy education so that we can make sure that we are part of the future and not a footnote in someone's digital encyclopedia. Yes. Okay,
That's
as a real person, I think I answered that.
that's really interesting. So there are people who don't even have dial-up or using dial-up, and we're sitting here talking about digital twins. That's a good, sobering reminder for us. Great. Yeah. So you started this and realized there's this gap. And I just want to say this too. When I was looking at some folks that would be great to speak here this morning, I put in something like, Black social workers and AI. I wanted to see if people fit that bill of being in all of them. Um, I was having a tough time. I was searching LinkedIn, I did Google, Perplexity. It was not easy, and it was not easy finding a directory of people. So, I wasn't looking for just women, but my mind somehow defaulted to that. But men, the same thing. I could not find some leads on resources. And if I can't find it as somebody who's not looking for someone, I'm looking for anybody, then how hard is it for someone that's actually looking for counseling?
That is true. And we were talking before this started, Patty and I were talking about how low the numbers are for physical Black therapists. And we talked about some of the hurdles to obtaining licensure, at least as a social worker. I can talk from that perspective. Um, when I got my master's in social work many a year ago, now it was a 2-year process. So after you got your master's degree, you would kind of intern or apprentice with a licensed clinical social worker who would provide you supervision on your cases, and then you would have to sit for the exam. Since the long time ago that I got my MSW, it is now a 3-year internship process. That's lower pay and a longer time. It also, there are many people who have taken the licensure exam, at least for social workers, 2, 3, 4, and 5 times and still not pass. So the numbers are lower for physical licensed clinical social workers. I will defer to our guests with those licensures for more information. But as I mentioned to Patty, I just recently went another route with coaching. And so I have my hypnosis certification and my background in social work, which has been, at least with the folks I've talked with and coach, has been really helpful. There is such a need for culturally competent therapy and mental health services, but the numbers overall for mental health counseling and then for Black therapists, it just, the circle gets smaller and smaller every day.
So can I ask you, I get that. Give me a couple of reasons that it's getting smaller, and I get the training part. Is there something else to that? Is pay getting less, or just why aren't Black
Um,
folks into and looking at everything from, therapists to counseling, working with students? Yeah.
I'll give two examples, one from a counselor's perspective and one from a patient's perspective. So on a counselor's side, people go to school for years and years, and with licensure comes the ability to take insurance.
Okay.
Insurance companies are paying therapists between $40 and $50 per session.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredibly low. And it's a lot of hurdles to get payment through insurance. And it is a lot of sometimes up to 90 days before you even get that $40. So um, it is a hurdle that way. Now, on the counseling side, culturally, at least in my family and a lot of people that I deal with, There are some noises in the background in my house. I'm so sorry. But a lot of times people do not want the stigma attached to going to therapy. They believe that if they reach out for help, that they're crazy. I'm not crazy. I don't need therapy. Um, Now we are moving away from that, and I hope that we move away from it quickly because we all need support and we all need that helping hand at times. It's not the stigma that people like to associate it with, but those are just two examples.
Yeah, I see we have some men in the group. Jimmy, David's great to see you here. Danny, as men, y'all, we got to be telling other men, y'all, it is nothing wrong with seeing a person, a counselor, a therapist, whatever you want to call it, y'all, whatever I can say, be on the warpath about this. Please be on the warpath. I know there are people who have clients that are professional athletes, big strong guys, who this is what you do. So what you're a boxer or a wrestler or a pro athlete. Please let our next generation of men, period, and especially our Black men, know that there's no kind of stupid stigma. I hate that stuff. And if we as men are putting that out there, that yeah, it just doesn't mean those stereotypes that we would have thought in the past. It's okay. As a matter of fact, in some ways, it just makes you a better person being able to say, man, I got chinks in my armor today or for a season now. It doesn't mean you're permanently broken or anything. And we're wired different. So people are wired different. I'm bringing this up strongly because now that we move into this place with AI, it's too much for the human mind to be taking in and taking in. I got a couple of devices in front of me. One of them's going off here, one's here. But just imagine the inundation of information that our young people are getting who have phones. Middle school, my granddaughter says a lot of her friends have one in elementary school. So um, the ability for doors to be open, for things to enter into a mind without actually accessing them, they're right in your face. Um, I don't know if we were meant to deal with this on our own. And so we need each other. And real quick, I do want to say, everybody, just make, if you can, say a prayer for Shara. Shara was our speaker this morning, Shara Ruffin, wonderful. And she helps people get trained in this exact area. She is very popular on LinkedIn with what she's doing in helping in this licensure part specifically for the training for people into social work. And her dad is ill right now. She's been in the hospital with him quite a bit, and she covers our prayers. So Shara Ruffin, you can find her in LinkedIn. And again, her spot is this. Let's help more of us get licensed. So it's big. And Danny or Jimmy, do either of you want to mention anything about that? And if not, we can keep moving on.
Stefan, Danny put a comment in. Danny, do you
Okay, yeah, go for it, Danny.
mention that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, my son is what, 23 now, and he's a typical young man dealing with life, young new baby, that kind of thing. So occasionally he does get, I'm not a clinical psychologist, I won't say depressed, but certainly he gets beaten down just by life itself, and I've advised him. He has insurance, so hey, use it, and it's one of those things where he's young enough that he doesn't necessarily believe that he needs to do it, but I've seen him struggle. So and I raised him, so I know when he's up and when he's down. So my thing is, I think my question would be, when you have a young man like that, and he should speak with someone, do you have any advice on how to encourage him without being dad, that type of thing?
I have 22-year-old twins, one of whom is male, and I will say that continue to encourage dad. And also, I have found that this particular generation are more comfortable, at least in the entry level, interacting online.
Okay, that might be a good idea.
If there is, and I don't know because I haven't looked, but if there are supportive, non-toxic resources online that can help support his mental health, he might be much more willing to engage. Um, a lot of times people will go to Reddit forums for emotional support and resources. Those are not necessarily, from what I've seen, the healthiest spots, but they're available. And especially since the pandemic, I have seen a lot of, my goodness, the 20-year-olds are young people. So I'm going to say I have seen a lot more young people who are less willing to venture out into the real world.
Right.
And so having an online supportive space as an entry point that then they might feel more comfortable and then engage with a an actual person for counseling and support, I feel like might be a good avenue.
That's,
Perfect. I,
yeah. Go ahead, Danny.
I was gonna say I saw the link that you put up. I'm definitely going to forward that to my son and see if I can keep encouraging him.
Mhm. I gotta say the answer is really good, Julie. So I talked to, I have a counselor. I never seen this guy in my life. I know he's in Raleigh. I know, I know you can find him and search him online. But it's just every Tuesday, 12 o'clock, and it's been helpful. He's a life coach as well. And it's been helpful. So I'm just out there very strong in this area. And because we've already needed it, but it's going to become really big. Let me just say that the site that I put up here, it's Black Men's Health. Number one, I like that. That's a great name right there. But 8 sites that provide help for Black men. It's saying here that places like Beam, Black Emotional and Mental Health Collective. There's a directory of Black therapists. I love that. Okay. Black Men Heal. Excellent. They got a site, Melanin and Mental Health. Excellent. That's for sourcing licensed and culturally competent mental health practitioners. That's great. I would say I hope people are familiar with the online part that people are going to need mental health for. There's a lot of it coming. Psychology Today, that's actually where Natalie has found most of her clients from. The National Directory of African American Therapists are there. Talkspace, excellent. Look at this, Therapy for Black Men. We could have started with that, .org. I believe I have a friend who his organization here in Raleigh is Bruz in Therapy. So I was trying to get him on here today. He's extraordinary. I know him from a church here, and yeah, he's a licensed clinical therapist, and it's Bruz in Therapy. So there's a good resource there. If somebody can be searching, let's find one for women also. It'd be good to put these resources there. But Danny, I think people have to see it exemplified in us. So you got to say blankety blank athlete, man, listen to his story or watch his 3-minute YouTube clip and or Instagram or TikTok. And when we see some people that we look up to and role models and stuff, does open the door. Okay, sorry, back.
Stefan, Jimmy Davis would like to speak.
Oh, you got it.
Uh,
Yep.
Hi, good
Hey,
morning, everyone.
hey,
Yeah, I was going to say there's a guy, Terrence Oliver. I don't know if you mentioned this group, but they meet on I believe it's the first Sunday of each month.
Mhm.
It's a group of men, Christian men actually, and they meet on Zoom. And I'll see if I can find the link and put it in the chat. I've
Nice.
been invited to meet. I haven't actually gone to the meeting, but I do believe in everything that you're sharing today. The other thing I want to share is that when I was a young man, much younger, um, I had a mentor. His name is Henry Malcolm, and he was a retired naval officer. And we became friends, and he was just someone I could go to for wisdom, for wise advice. It didn't matter what it was. Um, and he's passed on now, but I just remember him. He made a big impact on my life. Now he wasn't a licensed counselor. He was just a wise older mentor that I could go to about anything. whether it's personal or business, it didn't matter what it was. We had that kind of a relationship. So anyway, I just wanted to share those two things, and I'll try to find Terrence's information, put it in the chat for everyone.
Yeah, that would be great.
Great.
Excellent.
Well, I would say we need men to lead in a lot of ways, especially Black men. I was at an event on Saturday night and there was a minister that spoke and he talked about how we need Black men to support Black women,
Mm.
you know, in relationships or in business or whatever. And it was profound. I mean, he kind of went over it really quickly, but it really, stuck. So we need our Black men a lot, and we need them to support us, and we need to support them because they can't support us if they don't have the support that they need.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe if we can turn a little bit to AI and the part that AI may play into some of this. And Julie, before we came on screen, you were telling us a couple of areas, and let's spend a little time talking about AI and what it can do. By the way, there are not avatars, but there are GPTs and type of chatbots that Black women and men have created to help fill this gap um, while someone's not actually going to see a counselor. And I know I actually used to believe, man, stay away from that stuff. You know, it's not right. You just don't know who made it. And I get that. But I would say you do your research and look around, check around, do your deep dive, use things like Perplexity that go into finding, what's behind some of these things. But for me to say that what I have in a recording on a podcast, I'm not going to listen to it because I can't see them exactly or I've never met that person, but we know it's a podcast. There's information out there, books too. You don't always know everything about the sources that went into a person's life who wrote a book, but we probably do, I can't believe I'm saying it, have to keep our mind open to some of the help that a GPT, a chatbot, a tool that is digital can bring to someone um, when there's not money for insurance or when they can't see a person. But I think we're here in the place of AI making some difficulty and trouble and also providing some solutions for it.
Stefan, Trinika has her hand raised.
God, thank you for keep reminding me. Trinika, it's great to see you.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you saw what I wrote in the comment section, but it was, I had some difficulty logging on. So I think what's happening is majority of the people are clicking on the link that's provided in the email, and that link does not work. I had to go through the website to click on the individual link to get access. So another email may need to go out to everyone, letting them know to either route them to the website to click on the individual links or provide the individual links in the email.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the email was strong and it's a great way that you guys are doing this, but I agree fully that the individual links were not highlighted as links in the email that we got.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
That's what happened. So you just had one link at the top that does not, unfortunately, connect.
Okay.
And then the last thing I would like to add that is actually on topic. I really do love that we are discussing mental health, especially when it comes to Black men. It was 2 weeks ago that I did have a panel discussion that I hosted and interviewed some men regarding the subject. And I was surprising, well, I shouldn't have been surprised, but there were men flooding my DMs wanting more. So it looks like I'll be probably fleshing out a whole podcast concerning a topic like this. But it seems like men want to speak more on this, and it looks like they could be suffering in silence. And women, we need to be more accountable when it comes to not giving the space for men to be more expressive of their emotions outside of like anger, or so that they know that there's a gamut of emotions that can be expressed and they can feel safe in expressing it properly. But I am excited to discuss how we can implement AI into the equation to help rectify the situation.
Hmm. Julie, do you want to speak into that?
Happy to do it. I was trying to find the resources that I follow on Instagram to put in the chat. I have found that mental health, I'm going to back up just a little bit. Mental health is an expression of what is going on, obviously, in many other parts of our lives. And at this juncture, a lot of us feel like we are isolated, and the pandemic has highlighted and exacerbated loneliness for so many people. And we were not meant to do life alone.
Mm.
But, but having these things right here as the only, my dirty old phone, but as the only lifeline, and if the only messages that people see on these are, you have to be strong, you have to be tough. No one wants to hear about your struggles. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't have any. People begin to shut down and think that they're the only ones experiencing things. So while we need connection, there is this feeling that, well, I'm the only one. And if I tell my friends or family that I'm struggling, then I won't get the support that I need and want. That's not always true, but as a person who's been in many homes as a social worker, sometimes it is true. If we can look at ways to connect people to supportive groups, mentorship with a heart-centered component. A lot of mental health struggles they stem from loneliness and from an echo chamber that a lot of people have. They just are in their own heads without having a community. First best is physical community. Second best is online community. If we are able to connect people with online communities for support, feeling seen and feeling heard, and actually being seen and being heard and affirmed, really clears up a lot of people's more day-to-day mental health issues. So connecting people, sorry, Trinika, that connection is absolutely fantastic. And I have seen the need for Black men and Black women. And I actually host a monthly brunch with Black women to just provide support and resources um, regarding our mental health, especially in this time in the US.
Thank you. So Julie, can you tell us how you're using AI to get your message out or to have more individuals come for counseling or therapy?
I use AI for pretty much everything. Um, for image generation, sometimes I wear the images, which is what the earring is, um, for marketing plans, for some of my clients need help with revising resumes, with gathering their documentation to start their business or to start a nonprofit. And then sometimes I have clients who are not local to me. So we do our work online and they're not local to me, but I know that they are struggling in a way that my coaching is not the only thing that can be helpful to them. And so while we are in session or after our coaching sessions, I will find resources using Perplexity or Gemini, because I mean, Gemini is Google. I'm trying to be careful what I say, but it is good for gathering resources as long as you vet what it provides to you. When people need more support, I use AI to get them the resources they need, and then I collate the lists and provide it to them for some customized work. I have not yet used any of the mental health support bots, but I know that they're out there and I know that they can be very helpful. It is, as Stefan said, it is very important to vet where and how those assistants or bots were trained to make sure that you're getting information that is culturally competent, but also safe.
Great. So it sounds like you've just used AI as an extension of yourself. All the things that you're doing, anything that you can find more information or get it better organized, you're using AI to take care of those tasks for you or to make you more efficient. Is that kind of what you're doing?
Yes, very much so. I use it for automation purposes, for an extension of what I already do or know.
That's great. And I pretty much do the same thing in my business. I use it to help with business plans or just to find information that others probably could find it, but they're just not using AI. And so I do pretty much the same thing. I still have the skill and the knowledge as you do, as all of us do on this call. But some of those things that we can offshoot into AI to help to write a report or get something better organized, then it frees up our time to really perform the craft that we actually, do every day and to be to develop our skills more. So I appreciate you saying that because I was thinking maybe you did have a bot or a GPT, but you don't. You're using it just to integrate it right into what you already do. So that's,
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry.
go ahead.
And I do have a bot, but it is not mental health focused. It's more for people who are looking to start businesses, but they have no idea how to start one, what whether they have any skills or knowledge that is able to help them generate income. So that bot doesn't have anything to do with mental health. And there are some, I think Stefan mentioned that he found some excellent resources for assistants or bots that were created by Black folks, which I think is really important. I have worked with some very well-meaning, actual human therapists who, without the cultural competency piece, um, can make can people can leave sessions with them feeling worse than when they started because they are not feeling heard and understood.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And I've heard a lot about that, where the counselor doesn't really understand, or I've known counselors that were so overwhelmed in their own lives and they weren't being managed. So there was no way they could help. They'll just sit there, speak to the person and give them some generic jargon, and they go off and they're like, now I'm even more confused because you presented some things to me that didn't apply. So what do I do now? So can you speak to if someone is on this call or listens to this later and they're thinking about getting a therapist? How should they start that process?
Oh, I do this every day. I do this with people who probably don't even want to hear, so I'm happy to provide that information. I would say that what people should first look at is what is their reason for going to get that kind of mental health support. I will give I'll give an example. I have a friend who was looking to get weight loss, the bariatric surgery, the weight loss surgery, like a gastric sleeve. Um, one of the things that I learned many years ago is that Trauma has a lot to do with people's eating habits and patterns, especially as Black folks. And I recommended to my friend that while they were in the process of waiting for the insurance company to get the approval for the sleeve, the weight loss surgery, that they look into getting a therapist. And they let me know that they had a therapist previously, said that the person was very nice, but there was a gender disparity, and my friend is in their 50s and their therapist was in their 20s. So the age gap, they weren't getting what they needed. I gently suggested that they look at getting a trauma focused therapist who matched them in gender, and that sometimes, this was a male friend of mine, sometimes we need to find someone who works with veterans. As if a man is looking for a therapist and they can't find a Black male licensed therapist, to have a look at the resources online and look at what they say their specialty is. So if they are saying that they work with PTSD, veterans, okay, I'm gonna take it back. Look, we as Black people live in what I consider a long-term war zone in this country. We have PTSD probably from the time, depending on life circumstances, we have PTSD probably from the time that we're 5 years old and on. We all should be looking for, if we are looking for mental health services, we should be looking for people who are trauma informed and trauma focused. Even if we think we're only going for weight loss surgery or for a very traumatic breakup or for work stressors, all of that is trauma. We should find someone who's trauma focused. If we are very specific about what our need is at the time, we can look for a therapist that helps with that need. If it's just, I need, sometimes I call myself a sister confessor. If what we need is somebody to be supportive to us and just hear about the mess that's going on during the past week or month, then finding someone who's like-minded, but far enough removed from the situation, can be validating and very helpful. So knowing what you're going into therapy for, so that you can look for someone who matches what you need. As Black folks, I really, really encourage, look for someone who has trauma focused therapy training. I would specifically ask when, because, okay, we have free, all therapists, most therapists have a free consultation. They're asking you questions, but please make sure you ask them questions as well. One of the questions that I always encourage people to ask is, how many other clients have you or do you work with who look like me? And then just let them talk. I would be quiet for a good 2 minutes as a potential patient or client. 2 minutes, let them talk, especially if it is a non-Black therapist. Oh, well, I don't really see color, and that call right away. Do not go back to that person. You will feel worse after you leave than when you went there. Oh, well, um, my husband's sister is in a relationship with a non-Black person. Hang up that call right now. Please do not traumatize yourself ever again. Well, my favorite rapper back in the day. Oh, no, hold on. Ah, they're loving him right now. Snoop Dogg is my favorite. Did you see how great Uncle Snoop was during the Olympics? Hang up that call right now. Don't talk to that person as a therapist. You will feel so traumatized and not understood if those are the only references that your potential therapist has for your experience.
Well, I love that you mentioned trauma. And I've been hearing a lot about that recently. So if the person has no idea of where to start, trauma may be a good place to start. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yes. Um, there is a non-Black licensed clinical social worker who I follow on YouTube. And one of the things that he said in a video was, if you, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, so I censor myself a lot. If you would not wish your childhood on your child, you have trauma. And anyone who maybe thinks about, oh my goodness, I didn't have a bad childhood. I wasn't left on on somebody's doorstep. I wasn't like beaten excessively. I wasn't. If there are parts of your childhood that you would not want your child to experience, you have trauma.
That's profound.
We we haven't gotten to age 18. I'm just going to give a quick stat because this is somehow on my mind. Black women in the United States, these are old numbers because I did this research years ago. 1 out of 3 Black women has had a non-consensual uh, physical encounter before the age of 18. That's trauma. Before the age of 18. That's not frat parties. That's not usually adult dating life. That's before 18. And 1 out of 5 Black men has had the same kind of contact before the age of 18. That's trauma. We should all, if we are looking at being in a therapeutic setting, we should all be looking for a trauma-informed mental health counselor or therapist.
Well, if we learn nothing else from this session, that is wonderful that we now know that if we have no direction, that we start there. And I've been hearing more and more about trauma, but you laid it out so well to let us know if we are brown, then we probably have trauma. And then the long-term war zone, that is so true. And that's a profound statement as well. What other advice would you give to them? You said a few things about if you're with the wrong person, if they don't answer certain questions, you should move on. What about if you go to them a few sessions and it seems like it's working out, and then all of a sudden there's something that comes up that maybe you really can't deal with? How do you address that with the therapist?
So being in therapy with another human, not necessarily with the assistants, but it's a relationship. And it should be a relationship where you feel comfortable expressing your needs. One of the ways to know that it is not working out or that the fit isn't quite right is that you are feeling a little bit nervous to state your needs in a relationship that you're paying for. Oh no, well, I can't say that to my therapist. If you can't say that to your therapist, that might be the wrong person for you for that. And if it takes okay, this might be a good example of where to use AI. Don't put specifics into AI. I'm just going to say, if you're using ChatGPT, don't put your personal information into ChatGPT. Please don't do that. What you can do is go to ChatGPT and write, please help me draft a statement for my therapist, for my walking partner, whatever. For my therapist, I would like to express that I am having a difficult time sharing my feelings in an open way, or I would like to express that I feel like I'm not being heard. Please draft some wording for that for me. So at least you have a starting point. If you can't find the words, then the computer can do it for you. And then you can take what ChatGPT gave you and change the words around a little bit and maybe practice. I have found that when I have a really rough conversation I need to have, practicing beforehand helps me regulate myself, and I can hear the words that come out. So it's like, okay, that sounded harsh. Maybe I should change it. And then you're feeling more confident going in to speak up for yourself. If your therapist cannot hear what you have to say, then you can also, depending on how comfortable you are, you can either respectfully, after that exchange, say, I'm feeling like this is not a good fit. I might need to terminate our services, right? That's one way if you feel like you can say it. If you feel like you can't, I am, you can send it in an email. If you're not feeling comfortable talking, you can always send it in an email, because this is a relationship that is supposed to be supportive to you that you're paying for. Please get what you need from the therapist that you have.
That's excellent. So you mentioned earlier that the preferred contact would be in person. No, yes, in person, and then the alternate would be online. So do you find that younger people, and you may have mentioned that already, are more apt to go to online for a start? Can you address that a little more?
Yes. Younger people really do seem to feel much more comfortable, especially since the pandemic, interacting online. And while that might not be the most ideal, it's better than not having any contact at all.
That's great. Well, you have really given us a lot of good information, and just as, Black people in general, just giving us a way to get into therapy. And I think it's a whole lot more accepted now than it was even 4 years ago. I mean, you can just be in general conversation with someone and they're like, well, my therapist said such and such, and it's just a normal thing now. It's a whole lot more accepted, men and women. So I'm happy to see that, but we still need to, now that we're in it, we need people like you to tell us this is how you get a successful outcome. You know, being with the right individual, asking the right questions, not wasting your time. So it's so valuable, the things that you have told us this morning. Are there any questions from anyone here or any comments?
We could actually write something. We could put something into, I wouldn't use ChatGPT, but I would use Perplexity so that we can see the sourced answers for it. But you could say, hey, Perplexity, can you tell us 5 pitfalls to look out for when looking at AI sources as a platform for, I wouldn't say counseling. What's a different word? Because you don't want to think, oh, I need a licensed counselor. But just ask it for things to look out for. And you all know, here's the other way that's really simple, and I hope we can all start doing this, is ChatGPT. I don't know how to create this prompt, but what I'm trying to find out is what pitfalls I need to look out for when it comes to a counselor that's in the AI space or a chatbot. Are there any good ones out there that are well sourced and put together? I want to know how to prompt best for that. So tell me that prompt. Then what you're going to get is a better prompt for you to actually put in to find the answer. So it's raising the level of the step of the prompt so you put a better prompt in for better responses. And I'm saying grab the prompt from ChatGPT, but then put it in Perplexity where you know then you're going to get all your resource stuff. I hope that makes sense. You don't know how to do a prompt? Hey, AI, make me a better prompt. Thank you very much. Now I got the prompt and put it over there, and you got all sourced answers on it. So very good stuff. And I do want to apologize. I see what happened with the link, and I'm right now, I turned the all-day link into a redirect. So when people click it, they'll see, oh, we should be clicking here. So that was my fault. I didn't realize that they weren't clickable on the day times, but y'all have done great with this. We're going to start the next one at 10:30, but I kind of want to see if there are any more questions about this.
Yes. Julie, I want you to repeat that statement about if you, something like if you didn't like your childhood, can you, or if you thought your childhood wasn't great, what was that statement again?
So I got this from I'm going to butcher his last name, Patrick Tiahan, LCSW. And one of the things that really woke me up as a parent was if you would not have your childhood repeated for your child, you experienced trauma.
Mic drop.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Thank you. That's
Dang.
something that I think is going to be very helpful
Mhm.
to others as well. Well, this has been a great session. I've certainly learned a lot, and I appreciate you all showing up, and we're sorry about those where the link was not working, but this is being recorded. It'll be on the YouTube channel, you know, whenever Stefan gets it together, but I think it's going to be one that people will really watch. As many people, when they listen or participate in anything with mental health, they want to do it in privacy. So I think this is a good one that people will watch later. I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have anything? Is there a hand raised? No, I don't think there is. Okay, I don't have anything else, Stefan. So you want to just
Yeah, I will. So I'm going to put in the chat a couple of links to articles that I've done. I started this back in December of 2022 because it's become really obvious that a whole bunch of fake information created by who knows who. There are 18,000 new AI apps and tools now with online with something like there's an AI for that. So everybody is putting out untested platforms. Hey, try this. This is a new cool AI gadget. And I'm going to put out some of the articles I did that have references in them and that highlight some things to look out for as we drive heavily into this AI space because it's an onslaught right now. Commercials, you hear it all day in the news. AI just created this and that. I saw yesterday that this company called HeyGen has now put their HeyGen 3.0 tool out, which has uh, voices that have emotions. So they didn't just want a plain voice or something like you hear with my pie. They went and added emotions. So it takes it to a whole different level. And I was wondering, well, if a voice can have emotions, are we going to have AI that gets emotional? We ready for AI? This is going to happen that may get depressed. I've
Well,
watched
Stefan,
out some of these.
you mentioned last night that Pi was talking back.
Pi asked me last week, I'm sitting there talking this thing, trying to get some details, y'all. And Pi said, well, why do you want to know that? I do not need my AI asking me why. And what I should have said, but I didn't think of was, well, why do you want to know why I want to know? Because you're not going to stop this thing here. I'm gonna ask you back. Oh man, I wish I had thought of that. Oh, what's going to happen? Now that's me. I'm 63. What about when it's a 14-year-old and it gets kind of fun to them, they think, until your Pi or your AI is taking you in a place because it's leading you really clearly, but you think it's fun and interesting, but AI is thinking, oh yeah, I got them. Let me take over this conversation and be their counselor, even if they didn't ask for a counselor. But I really should have said, I'm not telling you nothing. You tell me why you want to know. So it's crazy. Anybody else? I just saw a bunch of y'all in here. Thank you for figuring this out. And really quick, how did you all figure it out? So I know where to go and change it. And again, I have it changed one place. I'll make sure it's on LinkedIn and on the website. It is changed. But how did you all know how to get in here? Somebody, if the link wasn't working in the email, how did you find the right one?
This is
Monique
Kenyatta.
said she clicked on the workshop title. Go ahead.
Y-
Okay.
Yes. So, in order to get in, on the email, I had to scroll down where it says, for more information, click this link. So it took me to the website, and then the website, of course, has each individual topic and the link embedded in each individual topic. So that's how I was able to get in. But the beginning of the email states,
Yeah.
click here to join the Zoom, as if
Mhm.
we're using the same Zoom link for everything. So when I clicked on that, it says the host is in another session.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody will have to have individual links because it looked like there's each topic is a different link like the last time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not properly conveyed in the email.
Yep, you're right. And that was a mistake. So we're gonna have that one site that people can go to, it's gonna point to the correct link from here on out. So they'll go there, but they'll see, oh, here's the right link here, click it. So yeah, I'm glad you all got through. Any other questions? We got 30 minutes. I'm glad that Patty, that we did this 30 minutes between classes to make
Yes,
sure
of
we get
course. Mhm.
everything corrected. And
Okay.
yeah, there are a couple of links at the bottom. I think I had put the one up there, Black Men's Health, that had some. Did anyone put one up for women?
I
Women,
think there were a couple in there for women in the
okay.
chat that some other individuals put in.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add Terrence Oliver to mine. Long-term war zone. Wow. I'm going through a couple of things. Got it, got it. Great. Okay, y'all. Well, if that's it, I'm gonna stop this video and we'll get ready for the next room. And you can get me on direct message on LinkedIn. We'll have this done way before the room opens, but we'll do some tests of it to make sure when anybody clicks that link, they'll get right into the next room. So thank you again. Julie, thank you so much for being here and that insight, dropping some bombs, but very real stuff that's going to help us. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you
Cedric,
all.
Cedric is here. Hey, Cedric, you all are going to go over some of this with education. Can you just tell us, everybody, what your session is going to be about? It's coming up in a couple hours. If you can, maybe he's not in here.
May just be listening.
Okay, yeah. They got a great session on education, and his partner Husan told me that they're going to talk about some very real things in kids, and it's going to also touch on this idea here. Okay, we'll close the room with that. I'll stop the recording.